The Trump administration is removing FBI agents involved in the criminal investigations into President Trump.
Critics call it plain old political revenge.
If you fire hundreds, if not thousands, it'd be thousands on this list of FBI agents, it takes 12 to 18 months to get them on board. By the time you go through the interviewing process, the vetting process, then they go to Quantico for their training and then become onboarded as a brand new FBI agent. In the threat assessment we have right now across the world, to lose that many agents and then take a year to a year and a half to try to replace them is incredibly dangerous for our national security.
Do you think the removal of these FBI agents is politically motivated, or is it necessary for national security? How do you feel about the potential for retaliation against FBI employees involved in high-profile investigations? Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. So hello everyone, welcome to Trump Media. In this video, we'll be discussing about Trump's administration decision to remove FBI agents involved in investigations of President Trump's critics. But before we begin, it would mean a lot if you guys would like this video and subscribe to the channel, and of course hit that notification bell to stay updated with our upcoming videos. So without further ado, let us begin. In this first video, Chris Christie and Rahm Emanuel discussed Trump's attacks on the FBI. Both expressed concern over the legal and political consequences. So here are the clips.
Let's remember something. None of these agents who worked on the January 6th cases volunteered. It's not the way it works. In fact, at the FBI, they do the opposite. They don't want you volunteering and self-selecting for an investigation because that may mean you bring some bias to it. You go and you select these people. So they were instructed by their bosses to work on the January 6th cases. And what happened as a result of that? Hundreds of convictions in front of juries, in front of judges that were appointed by both Republican and Democratic administrations. So they're saying to themselves, what exactly was infirmed about the investigations and about their work? Their work resulted in convictions that were brought by juries or guilty pleas and that were accepted by Republican and Democratic judges. And so if the president wants to pardon those people, that's his right to do. But it's not then his right to fire these folks. And let me tell you, they're all civil service protected, George. None of them are political appointees. So what's going to happen for these folks who don't go voluntarily is they're going to file grievances and lawsuits, and they're ultimately going to win them. And the last piece I'd say is this. Understand how long it takes to get a new FBI agent on board. If you fire hundreds, if not thousands, it'd be thousands on this list of FBI agents, it takes 12 to 18 months to get them on board. By the time you go through the interviewing process, the vetting process, then they go to Quantico for their training and then become onboarded as a brand new FBI agent. In the threat assessment we have right now across the world, to lose that many agents and then take a year to a year and a half to try to replace them is incredibly dangerous for our national security. And for what? Because they did their jobs. And if the president wants to do his by pardoning people, well, I disagree with pardoning people who violently attacked police officers on Capitol Hill. It's his right under the Constitution to do it. But this is overboard, and it's not going to work.
Does the president care whether or not this faces legal challenges? You just want to make the point?
No, he wants to make the point. In fact, he kind of likes the legal challenges because then it takes it off his plate. He gets to make the statement, the aggressive statement of firing inspectors general, or in this case, what he's doing at the Justice Department and the FBI, and then it gets handed over to the courts. And if the courts overturn him, he blames it on the courts and says these are awful judges, even though many of the ones that have reversed some of his actions are appointed by him. And that's what he'll do. No, he has no problem with doing this. Look, I warned about this for a year before this election, that this was going to be much different than the first term. Donald Trump knows what it's like to be president now. He knows what the ramifications for actions are and are not. And his view is, I'm going to do everything I want to do. And if the courts want to reverse it later, that's fine. George, it's like when I was governor. He called me at the early part of my administration when I had a $10 billion deficit. And he said to me, look, this is what you do, declare bankruptcy. And I said, Donald, I can't. I'm a state. I'm not allowed to declare bankruptcy. He goes, do it anyway. It'll go to the courts. It'll land there for 2 years. They'll forget about all this and you'll look better. That's the way he approaches those things. That was 2010, George. It's no different 15 years later.
Finally, Chris, the president seems to be banking on the fact that Republicans in Congress are not going to press him on this.
Well, so far, it looks like they're not. I mean, Chuck Grassley said some things and wrote a letter. The question is, are they going to hold him to it or not? Look, Congress has to decide, are they an independent branch of government, or are they just going to be, in Republicans in the majority, are we just going to be rubber stamps? I think these votes on cabinet members coming up, whether it's RFK Jr. or Kash Patel, below cabinet, but a very important job at the FBI, are these people that they're going to confirm. And they're going to say, okay, we're going to turn over the national security. I thought the Patel hearing was really interesting. He's saying all this stuff's going to be protected once he's there. Well, what they're doing is doing all of the dirty work before he gets there. I mean, we're not stupid. We see what's happening here. They're having other people do it for him and then have him come in and not have to take responsibility for it. The idea that there's not communication going on right now, George, between the guy you've designated to be the head of the FBI for the next 10 years and the people who are doing this operation as acting members of leadership and justice is ridiculous. Of course they are. And the president is the one orchestrating this. I thought the most interesting answer in the hearing was when Cory Booker asked Kash Patel, have you had any conversations with the president about people to investigate or not to investigate? And his answer was, not to the best of my recollection.
Not credible?
Well, I mean, I kind of remember every conversation I've ever had with a president. How many are Kash Patel having that he doesn't remember? Come on.
Chris Christie, Rahm Emanuel, thanks very much. Rahm, we've never seen a move like this before from a president. What's the likely impact?
Well, it's going to be dramatic. I mean, George, a couple points. On Tuesday, the president's going to host Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. He did exactly this, attacking the Justice Department inside Israel. It turned the country inside out. The defense forces warned him your deterrence is going to be degraded. And you had October 7th, the worst killing of Jews since the Holocaust. Now, look, the bureaucracy of the Justice Department, and as well as the FBI, they can be running a campaign of internal vengeance or external vigilance. And it's one or the other. They can't do both. And we've seen this movie before, and it ended in October 7th. The Chinese are hacking us and cyber attacking, and the North Koreans constantly. The FBI and the Justice Department are key to it. That is also true about terrorist action.
In this next clip, it warns of Trump's plans to politicize the FBI by firing hundreds of agents involved in its investigations and replacing them with loyalists. It argues this would weaken the FBI's effectiveness and safety, urging viewers to contact Congress in opposition.
New reporting on a partisan purge, a plan to politicize the FBI. This involves Donald Trump, and I'm going to show you exactly what's happening. But the first thing to know is this breaks with history and precedent. It is not normal, it is not standard, and it is not part of the other traditional and even expected personnel moves that you have between administrations. You may have heard the term political appointee in our coverage of these hearings. That's all standard. What's not standard, and what could be a Friday night sort of news dump, an effort to hide something that Donald Trump doesn't want you to see on the news tonight, is this. Top nonpartisan and career FBI officials basically being pushed in a so-called purge to resign or face firing. Agents who were involved in investigations of MAGA, of the crime spree that was well documented on January 6th, and related investigations that also touched on Donald Trump's role. They are being told, as the AP reports, that they'll be moved to fire those agents involved in that. A letter was sent to agents, quote, given your significant role in prosecuting the president, a reference to when they were investigating the former president. The FBI actually does not prosecute, although it gathers the evidence therefore. Quote, I do not believe the leadership of the department can trust you to assist in implementing the president's agenda faithfully. The New York Times reports this could affect hundreds of career agents. We're talking about the nonpartisan people who keep the country safe, and we're talking about expertise that's used to deal with crime fighting, from national security, terror investigations, the immigration issues that the administration has said they care about. This is a gutting of that for allegedly political reason. NBC's Ken Delanian reports this is also national, targeting over 20 heads of FBI field offices, including in big cities like Miami and Washington.
The Trump administration is removing FBI agents involved in the criminal investigations into President Trump.
Critics call it plain old political revenge. Madeline Rivera has more.
Internal documents obtained by Fox show Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove ordered the termination of more than half a dozen FBI employees by Tuesday. Bove is also asking for a list of current and former FBI personnel assigned to January 6 and Hamas cases. This is a record that could potentially encompass thousands of employees. Case in point, Acting FBI Director Brian Driscoll says he is one of those employees, as is Acting Deputy Director Robert Kissane. The order for the review came on the same same day, top Justice Department officials ordered the firings of prosecutors who worked on January 6 cases. Bove says the Trump administration is looking to end the, quote, weaponization of the federal government and continue the process of restoring a culture of integrity, credibility, and accountability. But Democrats are calling the terminations and the reported efforts to oust agents a purge from a president intent on retribution. Just on Thursday, President Trump's nominee to head the FBI, Kash Patel, said this about possible firings within the agency.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations? Yes or no?
I am not aware of that,
Thank you.
Senator.
The FBI Agents Association says dismissing potentially hundreds of agents would severely weaken the Bureau's ability to protect the country from national security and criminal threats and will ultimately risk setting up the Bureau and its new leadership for failure. Fox is told many of the employees are planning to sue as they believe they are being fired without cause.
As we look ahead, one thing is clear. The independence of our law enforcement agencies is more crucial than ever. How the situation unfolds will have lasting impacts on the nation and the very trust placed in its institutions. Thank you for joining us as we continue to follow the developments in this critical story.